Welcome to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views show. I'm your host, Diane Sawyer, and today we have with us a very special guest, Dr. Shawn with the Rockingham County Schools.
Well, thank you, Diane. I'm not sure about the special part, but I definitely am.
You
a
are
guest.
special.
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, we are welcome we are open and welcome to any opportunity to educate our businesses and our members. But as a parent of 3 children in the school system, I'm also very passionate about letting people know about the really great things that are happening in our school system, but also to talk about any other topics or things. And you mentioned some stuff, and I think we'll get into it, about listening to what they want. And so I'm going to let you just take it away. Like we've got lots we want to cover, and I want to hear about, let's make a whole day of the great things that are happening, but tell us who you are first and why you feel like you have both listened to the community in your first year, but how you're just from down the road and how you came back.
Yeah, so thanks, Diane. I grew up in Rocky Mount. I graduated in 1986 as a Rocky Mount Griffon. Then went to Carolina and actually started teaching in Hertford County, which is in northeast North Carolina, one of the poorest counties in the state. Taught there for 4 years, and then taught 2 years at a juvenile home for kids we were trying to keep them out of training schools, because what we found, or what they were called training schools at the time, maybe youth detention facilities now, because what we found, they were just trained to be better criminals at the training school. So we were really trying to keep them out. And then got into administration, and I kept on moving west. I started out in Roanoke Rapids and ended up in Charlotte, and then wanted to try some other opportunities and worked for a national nonprofit, Teach for America, where I traveled all over the country and saw all kinds of school systems and all kinds of classes and teachers. And then worked in a charter school district in Texas for 3 years. We had a lot of success there. One of my high schools that I was superintendent for was ranked as the 2nd most rigorous high school in the nation by the Washington Post. It was formerly U.S. News and World Report. And then we wanted to move closer to home. My wife's family is from Bertie County, up in the northeastern part of the state as well, and found a job in Washington, D.C., which was actually closer than where we were previously in Charlotte. And obviously a lot closer than Texas, and was there for 9 years. And I was an area superintendent there, and then I was in charge of all the middle schools and the high schools in DC public schools.
And then you made it back here when the opportunity arose.
Our 2 sons, our youngest graduated from University of Maryland, and my wife and I are both from North Carolina. She grew up in Bertie County, I grew up in Nash County, and we wanted to come home. And so we were looking for opportunities that we thought would fit in with where we grew up. Because as a nurse, we see in a lot of our counties talent drain. People leave, right? And we wanted to choose a place where we could make a difference. We could take our experiences, because she's worked in hospitals all over, in all types of psychiatry. And give back to our community. I know that sounds trite and kind of cliched, but it's real. We wanted to. This is where we need people. In the 2 years, almost 2 years I've been here, we've got such great people here, such talented people who also believe the same thing, who want to serve their community and want to serve rural North Carolina. I think North Carolina has the 3rd largest rural population in the country. And it often gets ignored. It gets ignored by policymakers, and people don't see the beauty and the loveliness of our rural areas. Rockingham County is a great place to live. It has that kind of like getting into the mountains, and you have the Piedmont, and it's close to everything, and it's just a great place to be.
My husband and I talk about that all the time. Like, you live in the Piedmont Triad, you can be in the mountains, you can be on the beach, no time, and it's just beautiful rolling landscapes. That's from the mountains to the beach.
Yeah, I especially like coming down from Reidsville to Eden. There's that view where you start seeing the mountains. That's always a nice one. I'm often here in Reidsville when I'm going back home. Yeah, that's the nicest part of my job.
It's the same thing for me. My drive into my driveway, I can see Hanging Rock right before I turn into the driveway. So it's just beautiful here. And you're right, people here really do truly care about their communities, and they're here because it's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to live, but enjoy the things that we have. And, we've got these great opportunities where, RTP is just down the road, Greensboro, High Point, Winston. There's a lot of great things happening, but you can still be here in the rural parts and enjoy that too. So
yeah, and community and family and church are all strong drivers in our community, which I appreciate. They were strong drivers for me growing up, my wife growing up. Her mom was the church secretary of Coleraine Baptist Church where we got married, and her dad was a deacon. And so it fits the values that we have for our own personal values as well.
Well, it's funny you say small world. People, the values, small rural area, small world, and I'm a firm believer in that. We have connections in Reidsville to Nash County when we had Preston come and be our city manager, and so it's just interesting how things play out. And my cousin Jason, who's a district attorney here, he was the ADA in Albemarle, and he was out in that area for a while, and so people just tend to gravitate along to opportunities in the state, but then they always make their way to Rockingham County. So it's kind of cool how it works. So, we have some really great stuff we want to talk about today. You have an announcement, I think, some cool stuff that happened this week.
Yeah, well, so we had applied to add another cooperative, innovative high school at Roanoke. Roanoke. I was going back to Hertford County, Roanoke Taiwan Community College, Rockingham Community College, and we just got word it was approved by the State Board of Education.
Congratulations!
Thanks. We're excited about it, and the goal of that program is some of our middle school, high school students who don't see school as relevant right now. We're going to target those kids and try to make sure that they have a strong start to high school with a ninth grade academy model, which means smaller and team, kind of more of a transition, more like they did in middle school instead of just your typical high school. And then we're going to partner with Rockingham Community College for technology, for trades, and the focus will be much more on hands-on and internships. And that's why I'm thrilled here to announce it here, because we have to make sure that our kids have the skills and experience to be workforce ready. And so many of our kids, when I'm talking to our kids, I ask them about what is the best thing that they've done in school, and they always talk about projects where they had to create and do something.
My daughter would tell you that right now.
Yeah.
She just came through so she's in the 7th at Rock Middle, and they did huge project for Black History Month and presented it to the parents and the school as a whole. And that is all she has talked about, is the large poster that she made and the research that she did and how they displayed all of that. And so 7th grade did an entire presentation, and the kids went around and the adults went around and learned about it. And I mean, she talked about it nonstop. And it's like you said, because it was hands-on and it was a project-based, something fun that, she could really see and touch and put her hands on and talk about.
What I tell teachers is we know we have them when kids persist even in the face of difficulty, right? And it's amazing, our students can overcome so many obstacles if they feel the work is relevant. They will go above and beyond in researching, they will take their own time, they will collaborate, but we have to give them really relevant work and relevant work experience. And I think coming to Rockingham, I actually believe in sometimes you're called to areas and things. And I spent my first year really listening to what the community wanted, because there is no Shawn Stover plan for education. My plan is to really listen, see what is in a community, and then try to tailor the solutions that meet the needs of the community and the students. And so I spent a long time listening. My first year, I went out and I didn't say, here's what we're going to do. I just wanted to hear from our teachers. I visited every school, and we talked about what values and what they wanted. I spent a lot of time with principals, spent a lot of time with parents, and just going around and talking to groups. And what I heard consistently is safety And that's our number one job, right? To keep our students safe. That's what I think about when I wake up. Last thought I have when I go to sleep. Safety. They like their local schools. There's a lot of pride in the local schools, and they want the schools to have some amount of autonomy. They don't want us to tell the schools what to do. And they want to make sure their kids are ready for their next step, and not necessarily in college, just ready. And so, luckily, I believe in those things as well. I was a principal when I was a principal going through in North Carolina, in Charlotte, in Chapel Hill, in Alamance County, Pleasant Grove. I was that principal who would say yes to whatever central office said to do, and then did what I thought was best for our community. And then, and we always got whatever scores. I don't really care about scores. I care about the experience we create for students. But of course, when you create a great experience for students, the test scores are going to come. And we did well. And so if I was that way of a principal, I can't be kind of disingenuous and say, no, you have to do exactly what I say. And we've got such wonderful principals in all of our school. I was very, very lucky. We've got principals who know the area, who really are invested in the area and care about the area, and are learners. And as one of the things I think is I need to be the lead learner, and the principals also need to be the lead learners of their school. And so I feel very lucky in that respect. And we've got great teachers. We just need to keep them and get more of them as some of our great teachers retire. So anyway, I was listening, and that's kind of led to us to develop a strategic blueprint, and it kind of informs what we're doing now.
And I think that you were exactly right. We proved it here at Annie Penn Hospital with Mickey Foster leading the way, that if the patients were happy, right, that was great. But if the staff who was providing the care to the patients were happy, then all the ratings went up because they were taking care of the staff were happy, in turn taking care of the patients. And it's kind of the same concept. Like, you're listening to what the teachers want, the teachers are happy, and they're providing that experience, and the students are going to be happy, and their test scores are going to go up. And so it doesn't matter what you apply it to, but I think a lot can be learned from that model. And so I think the experiences and the ability to come in and listen. I did the same thing here. When I first came to the chamber, I didn't come in and change a bunch of stuff. I listened. And so now here you are, and you've got ideas and you've got things that you're going to do. And so now we're talking about choices and choices that need to be made. So tell us about the choices that need to be made.
Well, so when I came here, one of the things that I thought was most impactful in DC when I was chief of secondary schools is we had a lot of different academies, which were great. But we had a hard time, and academies are specialized kind of schools within a school that concentrate on a specific thing. And they're great. And a lot of academies give our students that hands-on learning, which we talked earlier about. But they don't lead to anywhere. And again, I believe our job is to prepare our students for whatever's next, so that they have all the choices available to them. And I trust our families and our students to make the right choices for them. And I can tell you a little bit how I got here. When I was in Texas, we were all about getting kids into college. And that was from 2010 to 2013. 100% of our students were accepted into a four-year university. We focused on getting them what we called free money through grants, financial aid, not loans. We also concentrated on getting them as much college credit as we could prior to them going into college, and we did a great job of that. And that's why we had the challenge ranking that we did, is because we had IB and we had AP. And my secretary, her son was in the IB program, graduated with 36 hours of college credit and started off as a junior in college. And she was thrilled because that was 2 less years of college she had to pay. And that was in 2010. And I thought it was the best way for our kids to kind of be into the middle class, which is so important. But we had a number of kids who would go to college and prepared, smart, could do it, but family issues, just issues of not being in a community that could support them, that they were familiar with, caused a lot of them to come back. And what they had is they had debt. They didn't have a leg up on, experiences or jobs that were in the area. And we kind of, in trying to accelerate them, we actually held them back. So when I moved to DC, I really thought about being college and career ready. And even from 2013, when I left Texas, to when I started with all the secondary schools in DC in 2017, the difference between being college ready and career ready, there was no difference. Because of how careers have, what you need to do, it's no longer rote things, right? It's no longer you just do this one task over and over. You really have to think things through. You're a problem solver. And so we talked about being college and career ready, either or, it didn't matter. And we moved from the academies to focus on what are the jobs available in DC. And in DC, the jobs that were available were construction. There's lots of construction. I don't know if you've ever been to DC, but I think the state bird is the crane. Construction, healthcare, as everywhere is, right? Hospitality, obviously. And we're not talking about just serving, it's management, those types of things. And then technology. I don't know if many people are aware, but almost all internet runs through Northern Virginia. And so there was and then of course you have cyber security, the Pentagon. So there was lots of jobs available. And that's what we focused on. And as a result, we were able to get our kids more internship opportunities. My last year, I think we had over 3,000 of our students in high school had some kind of work-based experience in high school, either in the summer or during school. And our businesses that we partnered with had a 96% satisfaction rate with the students that were there. And I think we had 88% said they would hire the student that worked with them. And that's real, and that really helps kids. And so I knew what a success that was, and I wanted to bring that here if it's what the community wanted. And obviously through my listening and learning, I heard that. But now, as I've really thought about it, I've even expanded my my idea of what, instead of being college and career ready, I want our kids to be choice ready. Now, I was running this by my wife because she's my best advisor and my fierce critic too. So you don't ever have to worry about me getting a big head, because she will shrink it very quickly. She gives me a running critique after all my board meetings, and it's usually, you should have done this, this, and this. So, and I'm afraid of what she'll say now. She sees it, so I'll look at it first, and then I might not ever show it to her. But she asked me, what does that mean? What's the difference between college and career ready and being choice ready? And I had a ready answer for her. Being choice ready means we have to start as soon as our kids come into school. And obviously we're not going to, like a kindergarten, we're not going to say, well, what job do you want? Because they're going to say firefighter or policeman or superhero or something like that. But what we're doing is we're first of all focusing on the skills that employers need, that colleges, everyone needs to be successful in life. A skill of being able to take a multiple choice test, surprisingly enough, is not what most people are looking for. What we're looking for is things like, how do you collaborate with people? Are you a constant learner? Because we have to be, because the rate of change is just mind-boggling. Can you communicate well? Do you have empathy for those around you? Can you understand? Those are the types of things that we want our students to really learn and focus on. So I went around and asked this summer, I met with all of our directors and principals, as well as the board, and said, we can create our own Rockingham County portrait of a graduate, or we can adopt the state's. And the state portrait of graduate is really good, and then it allows us to have a connection with the state. And so there's 7 durable skills, is what they call them. And I just introduced some of them, collaboration, communication, effectively communicating your ideas, learning, having empathy for others, are some examples. And so we're taking this year to really learn what that means. And our principals and staff over the summer will take those durable skills and we'll kind of build them out to say, what does that look like for an elementary school? How do we teach collaboration? What are our expectations? And we'll have a document that says in K through 5 in our K through 5 schools, this is what we're going to do to foster communication, collaboration skills. This is what we're going to do in middle school. This is what we're going to do in high school. And so the public will also know, what are we trying to teach our kids? What are we trying to get them, what skills do we want them to have? And I think it's really important we have that document, because there's so much unknown out there. There's fear of like, are you trying to indoctrinate our kids? We're not trying to do anything but get our students ready for their next stage in life. And we have to do that with our parents. We have to do that with our community. And so I want the community to really be aware of what we are teaching and what we are doing. So that's the step one. And then as they get into middle school and they're more aware and they're really able to make choices, that's not Superman or a superhero. In 7th grade, this year we've instituted college and career plans through a platform that we call Major Clarity. That's the name of the company that does it. And what it does is, starting in 7th grade, we have interest inventories. We have surveys for students to say, hey, what would you like to do? And based on those surveys, we say, you might be interested in this career. You might be interested in this thing. And a lot of times it's things that students didn't even know was a possibility.
Right.
So we have that, and we have this information. Now, along with those plans, we have instituted in 2 of our middle schools, and it will be in all of our middle schools next year, what we call Paxton Patterson Lab. I feel like I'm doing a commercial for all these education products. So we have a career exploration lab, but it's not the career exploration that I think you and I might have gone through, where you see a film and say, be a firefighter or be whatever, and then that was pretty much it. This is actually hands-on, experiential learning, the kind that we know our students like, where they get to explore the careers. And what's really important is we want them to explore what they want to do, but it's just as important to find out what they don't want to do. For instance, when I was 15 in Rocky Mount, I really wanted a car. So I washed dishes at a country club in the morning, rode my bike to another country club in the evening and washed dishes, saved up enough money for a car. And I also learned I don't ever want to wash dishes again.
I bet you did.
Yeah, I did. I also learned that the chefs didn't like to use foil, and I would spend a lot of time, scraping. I'm like, why can't you use a piece of foil? Anyway, so we want them to explore in middle school and get a sense of what they want to do. And then as they transition into high school, we want to give them the opportunities through aligned training that will lead to a job. And the jobs in our area, as you know, is a lot of advanced manufacturing is coming in, right? Healthcare is a big one. The trades, plumbing, welding, everything. And then technology. And so those are the 4 areas we are focusing on in Rockingham County. Different than what we did in DC, because it's a different economy in DC. And we're really fortunate to have a partnership with Rockingham Community College. And with it's almost like everything's aligning with the opening in the spring of the Workforce Development Center. That's going to be our hub. And there's a reason why. To find 4 good anything, especially when it comes to workforce development, is an impossible task. And we have 4 high schools, well, we actually have 5 high schools in Rockingham County. And it's just hard to get people who have the qualifications to train the students in the first place, because if you're great at technology, you can find a job, and you can find a job that pays a lot more than we are able to pay. And even if we did raise salaries for those folks, the private industry would raise them up higher. And so we can't win there. But if we can find a person who's dedicated, we can put them in a central area, and all of our students can come. And that's kind of the vision that we have, using RCC as a hub for some of these higher level training, and bringing them together. And then our kids will have the training with the equipment, because a lot of this involves equipment. We have our manufacturing equipment at Reidsville High School, right? But only the kids in Reidsville High School can really access that practically. And so we already have established kind of a transportation system to get our kids to and from the community college back to their schools. And so that's what we're hoping to do. And we're taking baby steps as we move along. Next year will be a little bit more of a step. For instance, the advanced manufacturing or the that we have at Reidsville will actually move to the community college, and we will be providing bus transportation back and forth. We'll see how it goes. With the idea of the 25-26, we're all in. And we think, so we're coming almost to a K-16 system, right? Along with that, we're really hoping to expand the level of internships and work-based experiences that we have. We were lucky enough, again, working with the Economic Development Office, working with Dr. Kinlaw and his staff at the community college, we received a Golden Leaf grant of $800,000. And one of the key positions that we're funding from the Golden Leaf grant for the first 2 years is a coordinator of work-based learning.
Yeah, and we are so excited about all of that piece here. The Chamber Workforce Development Committee, we are meeting again very soon to address the goals of trying to help the Reidsville internships and work-based, because we know that is a low number right now. We want to bring that up to what the other high schools are doing. So very excited about that.
We are. And what we found in DC is that's a full-time job. And we actually, DC has a lot more money than Rockingham County. We actually had someone at one of our high schools who that was their only job. The other thing that we had, which is aligned to kind of our portrait of a graduate, we actually developed our own career ready skills curriculum. It's called Tenacity, and then we put it out in the public domain so anybody can have it. And we think that you and I know that you have to come to work on time, that even if your boss is not nice, you have to put up with that, right? You have to do your best, just simple things. And we think everybody knows that. And when you're taught, everyone knows that. I was taught by my parents, my church community, the community at large. But not all of our kids have that. And so it's important to get them ready. And, again, we are dipping our toe into that. As you know, last summer we had our teamship sponsored by District C, where kids actually, a group of students get together with a business, and the business says, hey, we're trying to solve this problem. What advice do you have? And the teams work together and present to the businesses. We did something, again, similar in my previous district. And one of our groups of kids was working with the folks who manufacture Lee jeans, Lee and Wrangler. And they actually took their idea that the kids came up with to solve the problem, and I'm not exactly sure what problem they were trying to solve, and used it. And imagine, you're 16, 17 years old, and a multinational company is using an idea after you advise them. I mean, that's invigorating. And that is the type of work that causes our kids to persist.
Absolutely.
The other thing we're doing that I'm very, very excited about, and Dr. Perkins, Nina Walls, I've got amazing teammates who are just, I came up with this idea and then they made the ideas really better and made me look a whole lot smarter than I am, is credentials. It's workforce, it's credentials. Because that gives an employer, they know something here. It also builds a mindset. I said one of our portrait of a graduate skills is learner's mindset. It also builds that muscle of you have to continue to learn. You have to get these credentials. You have to get these certifications. And this year, the number of students who sat for certification tests and got their certification test is 74% in our first semester. That is an incredible number to kind of give it the statewide average last year, which last year was historic for the state, and the number of students who earned credentials was around 51%.
Yeah.
We had 74% of our students earn a credential.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And we just went over all those numbers in our committee this week, and I was blown away how it had grown just in a short amount of time in our own district. So it's very good. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, I was going to say, so we're really out of time. I know it. We always do. So is there anything that you want to drive home or wrap up or mention that we didn't get to mention?
Yeah. So 2 things. First of all, we focus on our students. What I've challenged the principals to do this year is the first question they should ask, the first question I want to ask is, how are the children? And then, as you said, we need to ask, how are the staff members? And then, how am I? Because if you're dragged down as a principal or I'm dragged down as a superintendent, I'm not supporting my teachers, who are then probably not supporting the kids, right? But the first question we need to ask is, how are the children? The second, and then we also need to say, how safe are the children? Because that is, how are the children? And I'm so proud of the safety that we have in our schools. We have cameras all over the place. We can see everything. We have cameras in our buses, along with sound, that go circle around, and we've gotten a lot of information that way. And we are in the process of building safety lobbies and putting weapons detection systems in all of our middle schools and high schools. We're going to introduce our first one at Holmes Middle School in Eden. We're doing a safety lobby, which is basically a storefront glass that's going to be bulletproof, because remember, in Nashville, the person shot through the glass. They won't be able to do that. And we'll have weapons detection system as you enter. And it's not the intrusive one. When I was in my previous district, we had to have people go through, they had to come through, and then they also had to put their backpacks through the x-ray machines. That's intensive, that's labor intensive, that we don't have. The weapons detection systems that we have are kind of similar to what you do at the airport. And it can show, if there's something suspicious, and we can look at it. And it's also portable, so we can introduce them to our football games and our basketball games as well, to make sure people are safe. So those are the two things that I think are important. We first want to take care of your children. We want to take care of them safety-wise. We want to take care of them emotionally. We want to take care of them academically. And we want to partner with our families, because our schools should reflect our communities. They don't need to reflect what Shawn Stover thinks or anybody thinks. It needs to be what our community thinks. And I think that's a misnomer that some people have, is like, you can't be who you are, your values, in our school system, because that's not true. We value everyone, and we value what their values are. That's what makes our country great.
It really does. Well, thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for being here today. I know that one of the first things that we did as a chamber board was invite you before you had even officially started to come and talk to us. We wanted to hear from you. We want to be involved, and we want to share your mission and the things that you're doing. And you even invited me back to your office at the start of the school year to talk about your vision board and the things that you're doing. So thank you for being willing to take time out of your busy schedule. I think it's very important for the community to hear from you and hear the things that are happening. So
I agree, and I'm always available. If anybody has a question, I'm happy to answer it. I'm happy to speak to anybody.
Awesome.
So come invite me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's it for today's show. As always, you can find us in the heart of downtown Reidsville at 140 South Scale Street, or on our social media channels, or at reidsvillechamber.org. That's it for today's show. Stay tuned, and we'll see you real soon.